Kirsten, tell me what we are seeing here in this figure.
So this is Private Jack Dunn, and in the exhibition he really represents every man, you know, the kind of really individual experience of the soldiers on the peninsula, and you can see he's not having a good time.
No. He's eating fly-encrusted corned beef. This is not an enthusiastic soldier. This is not someone ready to fight.
No, and at this very moment he's recovering from pneumonia. He's been off Gallipoli and recuperated on an island, but come back. He's still sick, but he wants to do his duty.
Yeah.
And that's his undoing, actually. He's actually found asleep while he's on guard duty, and he's court-martialed and sentenced to death because of that. He was used as an example, I guess, for the men on the peninsula. At this time, we're in the middle of summer, it's hot, everybody's clothes are kind of ripped and dirty, and you know, you can see the sweat on his brow.
So within the context of an exhibition about World War I, about Gallipoli, why this lonely soldier unhappy in the hot summer?
We were really interested in kind of undermining some of those heroic myths of war, and
humanizing the experience.
Yeah, totally, and personalizing it and bringing it down to the level of the individual. We talk about battalions and we talk about brigades, but I think for us to really truly empathize and understand the experience, we need to bring it down to the level of the individual person.
What I find most remarkable about the size of the giants is that each detail, the only things I see at this detail are like looking at my own hands and being in the movies, looking at a giant screen, and it feels almost like memories, being the way memories have an outsized size in our heads.
Yeah, I found that really an interesting way to think about it, and that movie analogy is just so spot on. It's like you are experiencing a close-up in a movie, and you really get to see the essential emotion of that person.
But the challenge then becomes that the sculpture has to embody the emotion that it's communicating totally, and each one of these giants completely succeeds at that. And everywhere I look, every hair, every cut, every healed cut, every glint in the eye, it's a total experience that feels completely authentic.
Yeah, no, I'm so pleased it worked out. That's all I can say. And of course, all of our giant sculptures are based on real people who were on Gallipoli, who left words, letters, diaries, and have descendants today. So we actually had to do justice to their likeness so that their families could feel their soldiers, and their memory had been served.
I'm interested in the fact that you have the information about each of the giants after the sculpture. It just struck me as, I wouldn't have expected that, and I'm not sure why, but clearly this was a deep part of the plan in terms of curating people's experience of each one.
Yeah, I think it's what we wanted to do was to just immerse our visitors with that main character.
First and foremost.
Yeah, and you can see some of their words animated around the space, and you can hear the music, but we were really going for just a total emotional reaction first off. And you don't need to know their life story necessarily, because I think this is a universal emotion that we have here.
Yeah.
So
I would look exactly the same way if I was eating fly-encrusted corned beef.
Yeah. And of course, every time you come through a space, this is like the story unfolding.
Right.
So
Jack's story, but how Jack's story is also emblematic of
other. So here we are. This is everyday life at the height of the stalemate in the summer on Gallipoli. And so trying to just kind of do more of the narrative work through here as well. We introduce more characters. There's a little bit more kind of interpretation that younger people might be interested in as well. And you can see also that we've got a timeline on the floor, and the crosses represent casualty numbers as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
All the way through.
All the way through.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk next about the machine gunners. And this is kind of like the dramatic high point of the exhibition, where the Anzacs are trying to get rid of the Turks who've got the high ground, and it's in August. And what's really interesting in terms of the storyline and New Zealand's involvement in the war is that Maori soldiers actually take a combat role. Like most colonised Indigenous peoples in the British Empire, if they were allowed to fight, they had a labouring role. But in this instance, on Gallipoli, the 500 or so Maori soldiers actually take part in this battle, the battle for Chunuk Bair. That's what the story's about here. And we've obviously got someone dead, a dead Australian, and two men, two Maori soldiers. Yeah.
The fierceness in his eyes, that's the level of focus, but also there's a detachment.
That's the kind of state you had to be in, that detached, intense, ferocious kind of eye, precisely at the end of the barrel of the machine gun. And here we've got Riki Hanakakik, another Māori soldier, feeding in the magazine. And what's happened here actually is everybody who's been actually on the gun is being shot. And so every man on the team is taking his turn. So here we've got Colin Warden, he's been shot. So Friday takes over and then Riki Hana takes over. With these sculptures, I'm always really amazed by the veins and musculature.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
I mean, so as someone who works with my hands, I injure my hands a lot, and I end up dressing my cuts and stuff, and there's a way in which each little scuff on these figures feels so genuine. I mean, it brings me right into the experience.
And I think that's probably Weta Workshop as well. They are hands-on people.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, if when my team was briefing up all of the characters based on our research, we could talk about Riki Hanakakik will be wearing this kind of hat. He has this colour hair, these coloured eyes. He'll have this kind of badge. And we did kind of do a general description of them, but I would never have, think about some calluses and sores on his hands, so I think that was, of course, that really grounds them in true life experience. Does. Yeah.
Let's see the next one.
Yeah, okay. The tension for us is that there are no women on Gallipoli, no nurses land on the peninsula. That's quite different from the Western Front, where nurses were very close to the front line.
A huge support structure.
So we thought a nurse who was on a hospital ship was a great way to talk about not only women's role, but also she represents, Lottie Legale here represents the people at home very concerned about their boys.
I find this one the most striking.
Do you? Yeah.
I do. And one of the things about it is, when you look at it from over here, this angle, you can see that her hand isn't touching her face. And this way, it's really clear that you're witnessing her in a mid-gesture. Either wiping it, that's what it feels like to me. I'm witnessing an action in mid-motion, and it feels a little like I'm violating her space, her personal space, because of the emotion that she's enduring, and I'm connecting with that. It's really intense.
Yeah, wow. We've had a lot of reactions to Lottie. Some people say a nurse would never be seen crying.
Clearly she's alone.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, even she's possibly just holding it together. And because, of course, the letters that she's received are telling her that her brother has been killed on Gallipoli months before. But because she's been on the hospital ship, she's been darting around, and she has only just heard the news, and it's about 4 months later. So these are the letters she sent just as she was leaving New Zealand.
And this is how she finds out, not from an announcement, but from a letter returned saying killed.
Yeah. I mean, this is the official news that she is just crumpled with grief. So we had lots of discussions about how do you express that, just letting go when you really don't really want to let go.
Well, and it's clear she is still holding. There's a way in which she's holding, like, this isn't despair. This isn't collapsing into despair.
No. She's still got some kind of stoicism, but I think the way the tears are running, just starting to run down her face.
The way her hair is moving, and even the ribbon in the wind, it really feels like an immediate moment. And again, that privacy of the moment is a really. This is the last giant in the exhibit.
More or less, in terms of the Gallipoli storyline. Right. And so, absolutely, in terms of where the emotional arc in the narrative has taken us, it's almost like, was it worth it? All of this effort, was it worth it? Just so, and I don't know if you can see, but also we've got practical considerations here. We have a really low start. so this was a way to have a folded giant. So this is just that point. After Gallipoli, the New Zealanders went onto the Western Front, and it was a much bigger, messier, bloodier battlefield. And so this soldier here survived Gallipoli, but here he is on the Somme in 1916 in, a shell crater.
A year later.
Yeah, and so of course we ask people just for a tribute if they feel like it. Some people write a message, others just, it's the ritual of sharing a poppy which makes them feel like they're part of it.
Kirsty, thank you so much for giving me this brief glimpse into this amazing exhibit.
Oh, you're most welcome.
I can't wait for others who see this to hopefully make your way to Wellington, New Zealand and come see this exhibit. It's life-altering.
Well, it's been my pleasure. Thanks for coming along.